Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello.
Oh, wow, you are hot right now. Now,
Excuse me.
you're excused.
All right. Good evening, everyone.
Nation, come back, Mr. Nation. Damn, that one really got me. Are we doing all right, everyone? I won't start the lecture until we are on the hour. For those just now arriving or those settling in, if you want to take notes in this lecture, there's stuff up front. Now, I do my lectures probably a bit differently than some people, which is I'm going to talk a lot, but during that process of talking a lot, if any question pops up within your head, you are allowed to stand and ask it. Because I'm very good at this thing called cancelling the flow and then re-upping the flow off of your question. I know that's a thing that not a lot of you might be used to, but it is most certainly a benefit. Because I realized that a large majority of the people here, and by the large majority, I mean every single one of you, was not in my class when I ran the academy. And those classes were not on business; those were on legal matters, which inherently means I'm back on it. I'm back on the inherently. Which inherently means, of course, that my whole family smokes that inherent pack. Damn. It's a good word. It is a good word.
I'm partial towards indubitably myself.
Yeah, you do look like an indubitably kind of guy.
It's just his inherent word, I suppose.
It's spreading.
His inherent nature.
Do this.
Well, I mean, it's better than. I guess it's better than any other word that could be inherited, frankly.
Yeah. Could be worse. You could be on crack.
Right, I could be on crack, and that would be awful. Okay. All right, so we are approaching time now. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and count how many people we have here. That's like important or something. And I want to thank you all for coming to this business seminar. So
You're welcome.
I get, damn you. I guess the thing to relatively start off, if we are going to talk about, a business seminar, we have to think truly, at the end of the day, and at the beginning of it as well, what is business? Business, as most people colloquially know it, is something where it's the give and sale. It is the sale of goods and or services, right? Now, the thing with it being goods and or services, most people inherently think that, okay, so I am going to spend some money to get a thing, which, I mean, they are right, but business is not that at the end of the day. That is the cost of sale. At the end of the day, the business is the experience you provide to your customers. As far as consumerism goes, when you are bringing someone in to a business, you need to give them a reason for why it's different than every other business that offers the same exact service. We are in Kara, which means we provide what is called a limited service. There are only so many things that we can offer. A bakery can only offer so many baked goods that no one else can emulate before someone else figures out the recipe and emulates it themselves. But one of our most successful businesses here is, of course, Crave Bakery. Why is that? Now, some could say that Crave Bakery inherently something that has the relative backing of the throne and the princess runs it. And that would be a fair enough assessment, but that's not looking at the deepest picture, right? Which is that whenever Crave Bakery opens, it provides an experience. The experience of shopping at Crave. When you go in, you could just order a pie and walk out, crack a little joke. Or, when you go in, several well-known figures could be fighting an oven. These are all things that could be happening on any experience that you go to. But that is just the relative, capitulate of what business really is, right? I once ran a store that was called Norbrook Knickknacks. Norbrook Knickknacks, all it did was sold some art. Now, I don't know if you know this, but people here at Kara really like fine fashion and art. It's a pretty lucrative market. You have to be able to put in the hours and put in the time. But all of that it's a fairly lucrative market. I mean, in our first week of opening, we made 80,000 silver. And that was before inflation. That was before, new fish came to Kara and they were buying those proactively. Before the mines were as serviceable as they are now. And that's a lot of money. And someone could say, okay, so you're rich. I am not. Because what I choose to do with that money, instead of just keep it in my pockets and parade myself like a very, very rich man, I reinvest it. 70% of all income made back directly to the people who actually made the things, because I'm no artist. All I can do is sell something. I take it, I provide it, I sell it, I add to the experience. Does anybody here today actually own a business?
Yeah.
I'm gonna take that as a no then.
Business adjacent.
Okay, you're a town, which is fair enough, I guess. That is pretty business adjacent.
You have to also run something that's business adjacent.
I'm just waiting.
And well, I'll say this: if you offer a service, and also you pay market levy sometimes, then yeah, you run a business.
Question.
I'll talk to you then, because you said yeah. Go ahead.
does it count as a business if you provide something for free?
Yes, actually, that's called a charity, and a charity is a subclass of business.
Ah, I see.
Then yes, I do business.
Well, then I do run a business of sort.
Don't get me started on 403Bs. That's a whole different mechanism. Oh, so you just give things away then? Is that how you're?
Yes, I do. We run it through the yeomanry, but we push away to people, and oftentimes we ask for a story in exchange.
All right. So you are exchanging a good for a service, which service pricing is indeed a thing, right? Asking for a story, that's a fairly, I would say, fairly common here in Kara type of service price. There are other forms of services, right? For example, let's just break it down into the best give and take example I can give in this scenario. Let's say the Lord Admiral here, right? The Lord Admiral here wants to bake a pie. But oh, lo and behold, his brother went on a goddamn raid of the kitchen again and used all the sugar. So he goes to his name. What?
That piece of shit. He used all the sugar.
Oh, that piece of shit. I thought.
Seconded.
Actually, the funnier thing though is it would probably be opposite because Devin does a lot of cooking.
Yeah.
Huh, that piece of shit. Now, but let's say that the Lord Admiral, so he goes to his neighbor, and then he realizes that that's the Chancery building, so he goes a little further down the street, and goes to a slightly further neighbor and asks for a cup of sugar. And they say, well, I have a cup of sugar. I don't really want your money, though. Could you prune my garden? Could you flower? Could you, make it look pretty? And he goes, yeah, sure. That is trading a good and or a service, right? Immediately for something else. That is service-based pricing, which is quite popular. Probably one of the other popular veins of it is that it's not exactly a taxable thing. You can't really put a market levy on a good and or a service. That's why you put on money. That was a very good line of thinking there. Thank you for bringing that up. A businesses in Kara are really interesting. I'd like to reckon, because we have so many. I work for the Treasury. I see how many businesses are coming in relatively daily, and that's without proper licensure or anything like that. That will be put out soon. Going through all these things as we put them together, we find ourselves in this, I'd like to say probably the golden age of business here in Kara. There's so many chances, and I see so many new things popping up that I never would have even thought about. But then also people doing things the same way, but doing them differently. Taverns have always been a big thing in Kara, right? People like making booze. They like selling alcohol. But what makes something different when everyone knows how to make the same booze? I mean, there was a time when all we had and all everyone really knew how to make was the various vodkas, and no one had discovered anything else. So what makes a business different when you all provide that? That is, at the end of the day, and at the relative cost of everything, what I have been sort of honing in this lecture is the experience. But to break that down even further, it's circling relative niches. Mr. Hanation, you actually run a fine example with this. What makes your yeomanry different than every other yeoman?
We have a distinct culture based around the history and preservation of Karan history.
Or you have a distinct, a distinct culture wrapped around that. And what is the difference from here to, say, Bramblewind?
There's aesthetic changes. There's differences in personality. One's not necessarily better than the other. It's just you look at the two and can tell that they're not the same thing.
Exactly. And some people would prefer one over the other, right? That's
Yeah.
the same with a tavern. There was a tavern I used to frequent that was called the Copper Coin. Around the same time as when Rafferty was also quite a big tavern. But I would go to the Copper Coin because I liked the experience. It had a different vibe that I preferred. That is what you were offering as a business owner, but what you were also providing is a different niche. You went to, the Rafferty Flagon for some form of big event back in the day. You would go because someone was hosting something. You would go because, there's Jeopardy, or there's some other form of beer night, or something of those sorts, something of those lines. And in regards, that ended up providing the fact that the service was always going to be different at any other tavern you went to. Because while other taverns could have events, welcome in, while other taverns could have events and everything, you went to Rafferty because they did that kind of thing. Meanwhile, the Copper Coin was more of I'm not going to say it was a seedy joint, but it was definitely a different style, because you would go in and it mainly focused around poker games and blackjack, and just a nice place to enjoy a sip of whiskey. But that's because it built a different niche, and it built a different clientele off of that niche. Another big thing that I think is probably our example piece here in Kara, for a lot of you newer people, fish shops. Could you tell me the difference between, let's go with, the Fishing Fox and the Emerald Caravan? Could anyone tell me that?
I guess I could say something. The Fishing Fox has proximity to O'Malley, who is the primary purchaser of fish.
Exactly.
It also provides fishing books as well as fishing rods for newer people.
Correct, but what they don't offer, right, which is honestly still fair, at least for the longest time, they refused to offer new fish coming in, right? They were always updating based off the quest itself, not off of anything else. That has recently changed, obviously. The other thing, though, and this is why I mentioned those two, and why I was leading into the next big thing here. Sure, they offer those relative differences, and the Emerald Caravan is further in, but the Emerald Caravan still makes a ton of money. That is because currently, fish is that type of export, I would say, where fish is going to be a lucrative market regardless, right? Because even if you buy all the fish from one place is going to have the same fish. And eventually that may stall, right? There might be a loss of profit there, a real relative stall. But it's two different niches. You check the Fishing Fox because it's the one right next to O'Malley. But what about the people coming in to sell their fish from, let's say, Widow's Creek? Well, that person coming in comes out of the King's Gate, and they have the Hosh Posh that now sells fish on one side, and the Emerald Caravan that sells fish on the other. The Hosh Posh they might not check out because it has a bigger offering of goods, and they're just worried about fish. Or maybe they will check out the Hosh Posh because it has a bigger offering of goods, and they're not just in town for fish. It's weird. It's weird to relatively bring those up and to put those together as their market piece. But every client is going to have a different relative market that they need filled. I have a legal office. My legal office is right near the arena in Lassel's Lane, in that big circle. And Lassel's Lane is a great location because people either take it left or take it right, depending on where they are going. It is in a central point in the city that can be easily found. But that doesn't stop a location, say, right there at the end of Stone Street, as being a bad spot. It's about the people that walk that street, right? Now, if someone needs something from you, they're going to come to your street regardless, right? If I need string, I'm going to the string store. So I'll go wherever it is. But if I don't need string, and I'm just walking down the street to my home, and I see a new business open up, and I look in, and it has a bunch of goods, I might stop in. I do that fairly regularly. I stop in the businesses just to see what it is, what it offers, what its niche is. And sometimes I have found places that I will frequent fairly often, and there are some places that I end up preferring going to than others. I've always found that if you want to have a shop that gets something done, having a shop like that is a barrel shop is fine, right? If I just wanted to make some profit, I would have a barrel shop, and that would come in, and I'm fine with that. But also, if I had the same time that a year ago Sir Atticus had, I would probably be running a store that I could open regularly. Because I prefer that type of clientele, and I prefer that type of basis. Getting to get closer to one of my customers and bringing someone in, because we have two forms of primary advertisement here in Kara. Obviously, we have the classifieds. Does anybody else know what the other major form of advertisement is?
Word of mouth?
Word of mouth, correct. Word of mouth is the single most, I would say, more popular than the board, best way to build clientele. When people talk about something, they talk. And let's be honest, we Karens, we like to talk. Sometimes when people don't want us to. Luckily, if someone talks too much, they can just run a seminar.
I see what you did there.
Correct. Now, it is one of those things, though, that when we are building a basis, when we are building a block of people to represent, I mean, that's really all you're doing when you're running a business. You are offering good and or service that a group of people may want, or may not even know that they want. But a business is nothing without its clients, and clients are nothing without the knowledge of what you offer. I have learned that in business, relative honesty to the service you provide, and also showing genuine passion to what you are doing, will make people flock. The Mr. Noman back there is actually a great example, right? I have seen people do pawn shop styles in the past, and they don't work if you don't have passion. I think that man back there knows the definition of passion. He does it in everything he does, frankly. I rarely walk into a store in recent years where the owner of the business approaches me directly and asks me what I'm looking for. You don't find that anymore. Rarely have I found it where I've walked into a business and they've asked me how I'm doing. Some have. Those ones tend to get me shopping there more, and I tend to tell people how good of a place that was. With how business is moving in Kara, and especially with what needs to be done here in Kara, and with future imports and exports being a thing that actually come here to Kara, these businesses that can actually make you feel welcome. These businesses that can actually make deals appropriately with other businesses, those are the ones that are going to flourish. Because we as people can only have so much time in the world. I can want to buy something and not want to go somewhere to get it. But why should that stop that person from being able to make money? Why can't, person B in Widow's Creek, it's really the only far place I know right now. Why can't person B in Widow's Creek, who makes a lot of alcohol, sell to Tavern in Stewart's Cross? Why can't a guy who does fishing a lot sell primarily to the Miss Pedal Swirl here? Why can't we write contracts that state that? Supply contracts are going to probably be a really big thing. They're going to be something that needs to be done, and in that turn, you're going to need lawyers to do it. And in turn, that lawyer might hire another lawyer to fact check it. I've done that before.
I think the complexity is what pushes a lot of people away from setting up systems like that. They prefer the simplicity of having it in-house, even if it's not as efficient.
Or, of course, you would like the simplicity of it, right? But why are you making it if it's simple? You're trying to make people happy. You're trying to give people a service. You're trying to be better than the other people. That's part of the competition. And you're trying to be good while you do it. The most honorable thing you can do to your clientele is put in some effort. And sure, that might sound like an old fart saying, meh, 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 meh. Why is it gotta be easy? Back in my day, we used to work hard for it. And I'm not necessarily saying that neither side is wrong. But the systems are only going to get harder. It's just the inherent nature of current business.
But is that not kind of counterintuitive to some things that you want to do?
Like?
I started my entire the Pedals World Fish Parlor where I give away fish in order to make things easier for me, not harder.
And that's what a charity is set up for. That's the design nature, sure. But also, and as much as, the effort is great, I don't even know where I'm going with that thought process, so I'm not going to finish it until I have it fully put together. But it's like this. I agree that there definitely is work that needs to be done. I'll work my ass off. It is as easy for the business owner as can be, while also being something that can be approached accurately. Something that can be done appropriately. I think that a lot of people don't realize Ankara, or they don't even try, but a lot of these services that have already set themselves up, the worst we can say is, no, we won't help you if you were to ask for it. That's really the worst thing. I don't know, that one's definitely a looser thread in my head. But it is a good point. Right, market levy being 1/64th of relative, not even profit income that comes in can seem daunting. Kind of needed. But most people would say, why is it needed? Because they don't know where these services go and where this money ends up flittering through and where that money ends up helping. It makes sure that things get done. Why do I need a business license? Well, at the end of the day, it's so that the businesses that are being set up are ones that can be appropriately helped. Because there are some businesses that exist that don't make money. But why don't they make money? And I think that's one of the biggest things that a lot of businesses don't know. They don't know why they don't make money. I've always enjoyed frequenting a business. I do my best to step in. I tend to be awake at the oddest hours of the night, at the oddest minutes of those hours, during the oddest seconds. In turn, sometimes I will go around and I will look at a business just to learn what it is. I will walk around. Obviously, no, I'm not expecting someone to be awake at 3:37.43 in the morning to provide me an upending service. But I like to go in and I like to try to figure out what they're about. Sometimes it's easier than other places. Sometimes I walk in, have a good day, Mr. Stratford. Sometimes I walk in and I go, yeah, this is exactly it. This is a fucking tavern. And then I'll be surprised that it's actually a bookstore. That is also one of those things that can be quite funny, is when you think you have figured a place out and nope, oh boy, were you wrong.
And then it's a barber shop.
And then it's a barber shop. There are some weird places and weird businesses that have existed over time. I have always liked seeing them, though. There was a business forever ago, where they sold you what they sold you was fun facts. That was all they sold you. They sold you a fact of the day. You come in, you pay a little silver, and they give you a fact for the day. And it was adorable. It was cute. It was pretty well put together, in my opinion. There was another business that I thought was ridiculous, but it was also kind of awesome. It was a world records shop. You would walk in, and there was a book of all of the world records in Kara, and then you would pay to be put in the world record book and prove the record that you've done, or try to break it. Try to break someone else's record.
Oh,
so it was like most times jumped in Kara, or like most times ran. I mean, doesn't exist anymore, obviously. And who knows how many people actually invested in it, right? There's a lot of different types of services that we can provide, right? Because, obviously, there's only so many goods. But the services stretch for miles. I just recently shut down my home gym, right? It was a place where you could come in, you could drink some of the stuff I provided, but it was just stuff behind my home juice bar. But it was a community was what I was selling. And what I was selling in that community, to purchase it, was 16 silver out of your week. So it was a subscription service. And that's what people really paid for at that time. Was they paid for the chance of, how many people do you think, in the grand scheme of things, actually used the service they paid for? Because the answer is not many. I had 12 slots available. I think I saw only 4 actually use it. I'm pretty sure I only saw 4 people use it. Yes, Mr. Hanation.
Some people will pay a subscription fee and then just forget about it and keep paying it over and over without ever using it.
I don't know how you can forget about it. I would write letters to them and also put messages out on the board to remind people to pay. So they were getting consistent weekly reminders.
Dang.
And I only let you pay for a month in advance. And very rarely did people actually invest in that month in advance. Now, let me ask you this. What is the benefit of a subscription service in Kara over a relative income service? A business that offers something on site. Does anyone know? Or anyone have any ideas?
If no one else does, I have an idea, but I don't want to hog all the space.
He gotta hog it, oink oink or whatever. Go ahead, what you got?
Yeah. So the advantage of a subscription service is that the timed duration of it essentially creates demand on it, rather than just going to it every so often when you're feeling like it. If you're actively paying for something, you are encouraged to use it more.
That's a pretty good service. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. He's more advanced than what I was thinking of, I will admit. One of the primary benefits that come to my mind when I think about, as a business owner, running a subscription service is my market levy is going to be the same every week. I'm getting the same exact money every week, especially if it's something that only has a certain amount of slots. So, for example, right, I had 12 slots at 16 silver pieces. That means that every week I am guaranteed a maximum to make 192 silver, right? That is at the maximum. Now, it's paid on a weekly basis, and obviously that means that 1/64th of 192 carry that. I believe it's something like really weird. It's 3. It's 3 silver. Because it fits perfectly. So that means at maximum I'm paying 3 silver a week, guaranteed. Now, obviously, I didn't have a full 12 slots filled. I think I had like 9 slots filled. And no one, unsubscribed for about 5 weeks. That meant every week I was paying 2 silver, 3 copper. Don't even gotta think about it. Just gotta pay 2 silver, 3 copper, done. Now, obviously, that's only a benefit in certain types of services and where you can provide certain types of benefits, right? Location-based services, where it's similar to that of almost like a rent payment, that's where you're going to get your best bang out of your buck for, right? Because rent is a subscription service. Sounds weird, but, it is. I'm surprised that a lot of the news companies haven't built a subscription service here in Kara where they write the news of that week in a book, deliver it straight to your house, or give it to the KRCC. Let the mailmen deliver a service that people pay for. Deliver it to their door until they stop paying. Hey, where'd my newspaper go? Well, you didn't pay this week. But no, business is always a fickle thing, right? One thing could work for one person where it fails for another. And that's not imparting the fact that effort is a problem, or imparting the fact that the goods themselves are a problem. Sometimes it is as fickle as that guy was a little closer of a walk. Or it is as simple as, yeah, I just never had money when I was over on that side of town. It's a damn shame for some of these businesses, but that is the relative identification of supply and demand, right? Knowing what you can offer to your customers to make them want to shop at you specifically. We're approaching kind of the halfway mark here, a little over. Does anyone have any questions that they wanted to learn from the lecture that they were hoping I went over? Look at all you shy people. Go ahead.
I know this is a. Sorry.
Stand so I know who's asking questions, please. And that way I can say one at a time. Miss Merwich in the back.
How to go starting a business for you and
How do you go starting a business? So obviously these are ever-changing systems, and especially they are changing like literally as I'm talking right now. Things are happening behind the scenes. Now, so the normal process, right, is you get your building first. Wherever you choose to get it, you get your building. You pay rent for that building, you let them know that you are going to be opening up a business. Once you do that, you register your business with the Treasury, get it approved, registered, and then you can open, start paying market levy. I believe the Chancery has a few things that they have you do, but I believe that's normally as simple, and only for the city, as simple as getting the all the information needed to actually rent the building. But if you're not doing it in the city, you're kind of all right there. But it is as simple as just getting registered, and then starting. However you choose to open. Opening days tend to be pretty good days. Your opening day should be the day that you try to do the most. Because it's the best way to immediately see what works in your business. If you start a business and you're offering, and this is going to be a very weird thing I say, but I'm just putting that out there first. But if you put out a menu for a day, let's say you're starting a restaurant, and your options are between strawberry wine and shit sandwiches, and someone comes in and they're like, I'll take a lot of strawberry wine, you realize that that's the thing that sells better, and you probably shouldn't sell shit sandwiches anymore. At least on your opening day, you find out what works, you find out where your profit is, you cut out the things that won't. I saw that.
No, you didn't.
But you find out what works, and then you go there. So Snort.
All right, I have a scenario for you.
Okay.
Okay, so my friend Wedward wants to open a business. However, there's a problem. He's broke. He's got 64 silver in his pocket, and he actually was a former butcher, so he's actually cut up a lot of meat. So he has a bunch of meat as well, various types of meat. However, he only has 64 silver to his name, and he really wants to get his business up and off the ground. If you were Wedward, what would you do in this situation?
There's very obviously in that way, there's two ways I would go, which is either I would put power into the metal to try to make as much money as I could to at least set myself up for a few weeks, and then have my grand opening try to be the thing that nets me the most capital. That doesn't always work, and there's more areas there for you to crash and burn, right? The other way, whether it's through a person or an organization, just try a loan. Capital loans are a thing, and they are very good for building out starter credit. And they don't have to be very big loans either. And you don't have to use all the money the moment you get
What's
it.
the limit that they can get as a person that isn't? Do they have to be a citizen to get a loan, or can
I think at the Royal Bank of the Bay you have to be a citizen, but that's not considering private loans. Mr. Redwood could have heard of a grand old fellow known as, say, Sir Whitelaw, Sir Atticus, and knows he has a lot of money, and so he can go to Sir Atticus privately and say, hey, this is my idea for a business. Would you like to invest in it? And I'd say, oh, that's cool. Okay, sure. Yeah. I will pay you this much money for your startup fees. And then when you get corporatized, I want this many shares. or
And there's
until
no
the loan
market
is paid
levy
out.
on that. Because
There's
it's
no
a
initial market levy on that because that's kind of more of a that's more of a in that scenario it's more of considered like a gift,
okay.
and there's no such thing as gift tax here in Kara. Now there probably should be, but who am I to impose that? A treasury member?
Don't give them ideas. We don't need more taxes.
He's giving himself ideas. He is one of the people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also one of those things that first off, even if there was such a thing as a gift tax in Kara, do you know what a gift tax is normally for? It's to stop like billionaires from, or even millionaires from shushing money to someone else before they have to like go to jail. A
Yeah,
gift
or
tax.
offloading their money because, say like
Yeah.
people are taxed on their wealth, right? If you offload your money to someone else who's mainly just holding it for you, that's where the gift tax comes in to sort of negate that in some way.
Exactly. So you're not putting a gift tax on someone giving their friend 3 bars of silver because they're in a hard place. You're gifting someone giving 65,000 silver to their son, who is now a 65,000 heir. And suddenly this person falls under a wealth tax threshold, which we've only done a wealth tax like twice. And I paid it.
Yeah, that's like
Yes,
a
it's a
last
nation.
resort thing for a government. usually.
Another hypothetical for you, Sir Whitelaw. Say my friend Spencer is looking to create a gift store, but there's already a lot of gift stores within Kara. How can my friend suffer apart from the competition?
Cups about weed.
What about weed?
Cups. Decorational cups
weed.
with different weed-based slogans.
Ooh, I like that.
Is that a treasury opinion?
Sorry, say again?
Is that an opinion of the treasury?
No, that is an opinion of the Atticus rate. But it should also be mentioned that, one, weed's not illegal here. Two, weed's pretty good. Three, we have had some really good weed businesses in the past. Four, I have seen other businesses of decorational cups. Look, the cup game is an untapped market. Let's get that together. And the decorational cup game, crazy. Sir Bumblesort, let me see if other people have a question they want to ask, and then I'll get back to you. Is this a scenario, or is this a real question?
Oh no, this was just I was just gonna talk about my friend Claire. Never mind, it's all good.
You make new people every day. I'm proud of you.
Oh no, Claire just wanted to open up a shop. It was a thing. It's fine.
Okay. Any other questions that anyone has? This is probably the best time to get some business questions out of the way, or even like business ideas if you want to ask how something would work. Like if you have an idea for something and you want to know how someone would do it, I would tell you how I would do it, and then you could choose to ignore me and do your own thing.
Actually, I think you're the perfect person for me to ask.
Go ahead then.
Did you go about doing your subscription services?
Yeah, so I advertised mine on the classifieds, where I stated this is how much this is, this is how much the service is, this is how many slots I have for the service, and this is what it provides. So basically, as long as you're very clear about your details, you can get it together. I also highly recommend that if you're not me, to probably get some form of a subscription-based contract that someone has to sign. You can have these contracts written by lawyers, There's a few who do contract work, including myself, but I'm not directly advertising you to me. But yeah, as long as you're very clear about what you're offering, and it's clear in the states of your contract, you can have people buy, sell, and get that together, either through the board or even I would recommend, actually, if I were you, if you are doing a subscription service, the days should it be about you opening yourself for more subscriptions, right? Like that should be what you are putting these together. So I'm saying I'm opening a store. We have this many slots for subscriptions for this thing put together. As opposed to, are you offering a physical service or are you offering a has to be sent out type of like a mail service? Physical. So this is someone comes to a location and because they've paid to do a thing, they can keep doing it as long as they keep paying.
Yes.
That's probably the best definition of that I could have mustered, and I could have made it so easier. And instead, I just described the entire business metric. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's exactly what I would do. I would obviously, especially if it's a service like a gym, that's something you want to offer as a 24/7 service, especially with you don't know when someone's awake here in Kara.
But how did you stop people who didn't have the subscription from joining?
So I'm gonna be very close to you to tell you what the biggest thing you could ever have. You ready for this? Threat of lawsuit. See, lawsuits are the best because you can threaten someone with one and it doesn't become the kind of thing where you gotta go to, like you get arrested for threatening someone with a knife, but you threaten someone with a lawsuit. That's perfectly fine. I mean, it has to have merit, obviously. It's a little unfair to ask me how I kept people who did not pay for the service from using said service, because one, I am Sir Atticus Whitelaw, and a lot of people really don't want to legally cross me. For some reason, I really wish they would. So kind of reputation is probably one of your biggest metrics, because reputation, having a brand for doing something, you're gonna have a brand regardless of whatever you do. Having a brand as the guy who sues people is not a terrible one. Or at least threaten it. But I mean, I did have instances of people who did things that they weren't supposed to, like going through my home, right? Which is just something that you're going to run into in these types of services. It's what I like to call mitigated risk, because you're actually, by telling someone not to do something, you know what that does?
Yeah.
It makes it makes them want to do it. But you know what's the best part about telling someone not to do something? They're focused on what not to do, as opposed to doing other things that they haven't been told not to do. So if you tell someone not to stop and smell the roses, and they do, that's fine, because they're not stopping on the other side and smelling the manure.
I see.
It's really all about give and take, right? Obviously, you're gonna have people who try to come in and use it without even like thinking. You're gonna have some people who forgot to pay, and you gotta get them. But also, you're going to have your loyal customer basis who actually respects you. I had two, I would say, probably very loyal customers at the time, which was the Mr. Axiom Valor and the Mr. Crow Nine Lives. And other than the Mr. Valor screaming about how his girlfriend left him while lifting weights, and Mr. Nine Lives doing full pull-ups in full armor, they were probably some of my best clientele. They came in, they used my equipment for about as long as they wanted to use it, typically about an hour, and then they would leave. And honestly, that's the best thing a business owner with that development can ask. Does anyone else have any other questions? Because this is probably the best time to ask something of this metric. Mr. Huffman.
Yes. So one thing that you illuminated quite frequently in the seminar was the importance of location when it comes to setting up businesses and whatnot.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, what is the how do I phrase this? What is the general consensus of, like, it's not really a thing in Kara, but it's certainly a thing more so outside. Stuff like businesses that pop up, moving businesses. How does that work? How would you envision that working if it is possible at all?
So I actually had this question come to me the other day. There are two ways I would do it, right? Which is either I have a main location with a main address, because that's what the market levy cares about, is having a main address, right? So I would either have a main location that stores all of my things for when I go out to do that service, and or I would have a PO box. I would purchase a PO box, which is especially something that I've heard a few places are doing, or at least are moving towards doing. So if you are a relatively moving business, that's your service, I would do it one of those two ways. Yeah. Because when you register your business, you need to be able to register it to an address.
Right. And so if you had a PO box, I imagine you would register it to the address that PO box is in. Would that count?
So I am going to say to this crowd of people right here that I am under the belief that that is how that would work. However, I am not the director of customs. And if that is something you are attempting to do or would like to attempt to do, I recommend writing a letter to office 302. No, 303. At 300 Bay Street. Because the Baron Gaunt Blazeborn will have an answer to that better than I do. And he might have a different opinion than me. I am under the belief that that is how that should work, and that is under the belief of how I currently believe it does work. But I don't want to, I'm not going to, let my words get you in trouble. Something else that I feel I should mention. For people who own a business, which we have equated right now, I believe is like 2. What do you pay yourself? I understand that is something that a lot of people don't really get, but especially if it's a business that has its own license and legal personality, even if you own that business, technically you don't own the money. The business owns that money until the business shuts down, and then it goes to where it needs to go. So for the best legal thing you should be doing, you should be paying yourself an income. It also looks better for records. Even if it is even if it is like 32 silver a week and your profit is 70 bars a minute, you should be paying yourself. Mr. Neschio, I've seen you in the back. You've had a few questions, but you haven't gotten to answer them. Have you been writing them down in that book? Would you like to come hand them to me, and I can go over each one individually? Yeah, here, just throw it in the lectern at that point. Can a business dip into importation of goods without having a boat? Okay, that's a pretty good question. I'm going to answer it with the best question I can at this exact moment. I don't know. Imports and exports are a thing that I believe His Majesty is still in. That I believe His Majesty is still very, very intently working on and putting together. So there's no way for me to know the answer to that question. I do think that even if you can't get a boat and you can't do imports for that, I do not see why you would not be able to get away with what I was talking about earlier, where it was service contracts. Because I believe that is still something that would probably work very well into favor and actually make imports and exports actually worth it.
I have a related question to that.
Go ahead.
And the answer might be I don't know again, and that's perfectly fine.
Perfectly in option.
Yes. I was just wondering, considering I'm also considering going into the sailing ship / export business, if it would be possible for people who do not have a boat or ship ready, to make deals with people who have boats and ships and are eligible for export.
That's what I was talking about. Surplus deals. Like, that's what that type of contractor is. That is you going to someone and getting the rights to sell some of the stuff they are importing, and they offer you the rights to buy things from you to put on their boat and sell. And they would probably take a little bit of profit off of the top. That's how those contracts work.
Understood, thank you.
Mr. Neschio, you want to come get this book? You got any more questions? All right. But with that, I hope at least that I know I talk fast and I talk a lot. And a lot of it is very disconnected and disjointed as I'm speaking what I am thinking. But I hope that some of this was relatively illuminating. If you think of a direct question later, you are more than welcome to write to my house, to write to my office in the 300 Bay Street, or to write to my business, though I might have to charge you on that one. Kidding. It's actually the Miss Fia right there would write you back a letter asking for when your times are available for a meeting. It's very good to, in my personal opinion, to have good staff. I consider myself one of the luckiest goddamn people in the world because I have a great staff, which is, of course, only 2 people. But I have a very good secretary who makes it so I never have to write a letter myself. And I have a treasurer who is insane. There's no better way for me to describe it. He put a burn notice. There is, in our ledger, there is a thing put together that tells me how many times I cannot make money until my business shuts down.
Notice?
There's a burn rate in my ledger.
He made that
One
within
above and
the
beyond.
first week too.
There's 12 pages. There's 12 pages on this ledger of various things that he tracks. including employee. There are 3 employees, counting myself and him, and Bisphia. There's only 3 of us. Yes, Miss Marlena?
Would you happen to know which lawyers do like contracts and such?
Yeah, it's me. I was trying not to like promote myself, but I'm really one of the only ones that does contract work.
Yeah, I should have seen that one coming.
Yeah, I tried to make it seem like there were more people. There's not a lot of lawyers in Kara. Let me first credit that. And a lot of the really good ones probably find themselves in the order before they think about making their own private business, because prosecution is way more fun than defense. However, I specialize in business law. So like this is my bread and butter. My specialization is in contract writing. Now I say that it's my specialization, and I have nothing to actually prove it, because I've actually won more prosecution cases than anything else. And we don't get a lot of civil cases here in Kara. I hope we would get more. We probably will with how things are changing in business. But that's one of the really big things. Miss Celestine Sinclair will probably also write you a pretty good contract. Fanfire Associates. But really, outside of us 2 businesses that actively do it, there's no firms. Like, you're not gonna find a law firm outside of those 2 firms. And of course, like, a service that I probably can offer, and Joseph would probably kill me for suggesting it, but it's probably a pretty fair service. Would be, oh, actually, shit, we do offer it. So there's this very fun thing that we offer, where it's literally called like a compliance audit. And a compliance audit is I go into your business and you give me everything you have. You give me your ledger, you give me your notes of sales, you just give me all of that. And a compliance audit means that I'm going to go through and tell you what laws you're breaking and tell you how to fix them. It's a pretty good service. It's not that expensive compared to some of my other services, but it's a pretty good one. With that, I thank you all seriously for coming here. I thank you all so much for your time, but I think I'm running over mine now. So thank you for everything that you guys do for me in coming to these events. Treasury is going to be hosting quite a few this month. We'll be hosting 4 more. So there will be a lot, and not all of them will be seminar based like this one. We have a few games and things like that, and a few types of other shows that will come up. So keep your eyes peeled. And I thank you so much for for coming out here. You don't have to go home, but I only rented us out for the hour, so I guess you can't stay here.
Here for Sir Atticus.
Here.
Good day, everyone.
Good day. Oh, hey guys, by the way, chess boxing tomorrow. Bye.
Oh, goodness.
That's a certainly way to advertise.
And that is your video. Has to unfuck some things. That sounds about right.